I've said on many occasions in the past that mask wearing is not a case of individual liberty, that mask wearing is not a Gadsden flag moment. Mask wearing is not a, well, I'll do my thing, you'll do your thing, because you're wearing a mask is primarily to keep me safe. I feel like I've made that point many, many times, but it's fallen on deaf ears. Bob Crawford makes it crystal clear in a piece that he wrote for Smirconish.com that right now is in my Twitter feed. You know Bob is the bassist for the Avett Brothers. He's also co-managing partner for the Press On Fund and co-host for the Road to Now podcast. And in framing the issue, which is under the headline, when talking about masks, it's not about Big Brother, it's about my daughter. He reminds us of an exchange that took place 2 weeks ago in a Senate hearing on the pandemic. The participants were Dr. Fauci and Senator Rand Paul. Here's just a snippet of what was said.
Well, let me just state for the record that masks are not theater. Masks are protective. And we
have
ask
immunity there, theater. If you already have immunity, you're wearing a mask to give comfort to others. You're not wearing a mask because of any sign.
I totally disagree with you.
So it was Senator Rand Paul who said that this mask wearing is just pure theater. This is Bob Crawford. Hey, Bob, great to have you back on the program, a program that you yourself have guest hosted. Look forward to you doing that again in the near future. Quickly, before we talk masks, you had an extraordinary experience recently. You interviewed President George W. Bush. Can you shed some light on that? I hope I'm not telling a tale out of school.
You are. First of all, it's always an honor to be here. An incredible honor to guest host the show, but always great to be here with you today, Michael. And in fact, I'm wearing a jacket, a tie, and I'm wearing workout shorts. So that's kind of what's going on.
Is the upright bass somewhere in the room?
It had to get repaired. And so it went to the repair. It normally would be right back there by that St. Jude poster, which we'll talk about, print, but it had to be repaired. And now it is at at Scott's place where we rehearse periodically.
Cool.
Scott
okay.
Avett.
TC is scowling at me. Was I not to drop the W bomb? Should we just sort of shelve that?
Can we tease? Can we just tease?
Tease. Yeah. Come on. Tease.
So I had the great honor of interviewing former President Bush a couple weeks ago for a project for Sirius XM POTUS. More to come. That's it.
Enough said. Okay. Well, I'm envious. I think that's extraordinary, and we look forward to whatever that might be. How's that?
Thank you. That's great. Because you know what? Like an album, it's done when it's done.
Good. I totally understand that. So you really did a bang-up job in explaining to people why we need to wear masks. Do tell the story.
Yeah. So this has been something that has been on my mind. I'll tell you, the Barrington doctrine or whatever that you would talk early in the pandemic. I would listen to this show, and I am a regular listener. Not so much during when the pandemic broke, it messed up everybody's schedule, and I didn't get to listen as much. But when I would listen, you would often have these people on that would talk about herd immunity and the idea of let's let everybody just do their thing and live their lives, and we'll try to protect those that need protection, the elderly, the immunocompromised. And my daughter has been the immunocompromised for her whole life. She's 11. She was first diagnosed with cancer when she was 22 months old. So she's always been medically fragile. And I had never so much wanted to be a caller as when you would say these things, because I felt like the families of disabled children were being left behind in this discussion, because, Hallie can't go to school because it's dangerous for her to do so. And because of that, her 9-year-old brother, Samuel, can't go to school. And we were just on super lockdown, super protocol, wiping everything possibly down, everything we could down. You go to the grocery store, you come home, you strip down, you get in the shower, like the whole thing. And so wearing a mask is the simplest way to protect those that you don't know may have someone at home like my daughter, Hallie. And unfortunately, in September, my daughter was diagnosed again with cancer for the third time. And we were thrust into the world because we had been in complete lockdown. So suddenly we had to travel from North Carolina to Tennessee. We had to stop overnight, stay in a hotel. We stayed at uh, a Hilton franchise hotel on a Friday night in September, and it was happy hour at the hotel bar, which was this open lobby, and it was literally 2019. I mean, there was not a mask to be found. And here we are rushing this little girl, trying to keep, she's not very disciplined with her mask because it's hard for her, right? So we're trying to keep her mask on her face to get her into the elevator, up to the room, in the whole stress of it. So we go to St. Jude, and it's a whole different world, right? We go there. My wife and I were tested once a week. Hallie's tested sometimes twice a week. Um, and then doctors and people, staff are tested up to 4 times a week. And it's the kind of thing, it's like the drug test. Like, you don't know when it's coming, they call you and you getting tested. So surveillance to the max. And most importantly, when you walk in the building, there's one entrance for families, and you are asked those questions. And we're all do you have a fever? Do you have any symptoms? Do you been around anybody who's been tested positive? And they give you a bottle of hand sanitizer. Well, first they tell you to sanitize your hands. They give you a mask. They give your child a mask, and they're wearing masks and goggles. And so my thought was, listening to Senator Paul, okay, he doesn't trust the government. A lot of people don't trust the government. Then there's a lot of reasons to not trust the government for certain things. But you don't trust the government, but hey, trust St. Jude, because they're an independent, non-governmental, faith-based organization.
When you see images like last weekend in Miami Beach, spring break, and that's just top of mind because every day there's another series of events that we watch, and we see people who are acting as if the pandemic not only maybe is over, but it never even existed. How does that feel? What goes on in your mind?
Well, I shake my head. I mean, Michael, going on to the conversations you've had over the months, here's one thing that I've kind of come to. Why didn't we just vaccinate the 20 somethings and the non-believers first? Like, why don't we vaccinate well, now everybody can get it, right? But months ago, maybe December, maybe we should have been vaccinating the college kids. Like,
there was actually a guest that I had on who was a proponent of the idea that the people who are the circulators, I forget, Bob, what their word choice was, but that, many of us are not as active as some of the rest of us. And whoever those people are who are just not going to be corralled are the ones that we ought to vaccinate. Maybe there was something to that logic. What are the prospects of your daughter getting a vaccination? I don't want to intrude medically into her situation, but when can that happen, if at all?
Well, no, it can. Well, I know that St. Jude is either now or they're about to offer Johnson & Johnson to families. Okay. Everybody over 16 can get one. Even patients over 16 and over can get one. And now I believe they're studying vaccines at St. Jude. And we know there's Pfizer studying here in North Carolina. They're studying 16 and under. So, but I think what I heard was maybe the fall, maybe into 2022, Hallie will be 12 in November. That I think they'll go 16 to 12, and then they'll go 12 and below. So, I think she could probably get one. Let me just say that we did send her to school after we went for a checkup to St. Jude in early March. Everything was good. We go every 2 months. We talk to our doctors, because my wife and I have been vaccinated, and all the teachers in Hallie's class have been vaccinated. So they were like, okay, hey, as long as people are wearing masks, as long as, you get protocols are in place, her counts are now up. We feel like she could go to school. So we send her to school, and she's there 2 days, and we get an email from the school saying that someone was in her classroom a week before who tested positive. Now those people are all fine. That person was there a week prior to Hallie entering. We're a week out. Hallie's fine. But it just goes to, it's like, this isn't over yet. It's like that reminder, like that red flag. Hey guys, let's wear the mask. And let me tell you, I got friends who don't want the vaccine. They don't believe in the vaccine. They're nervous about it. They think it was developed in the past year. We know that mRNA vaccines have been around. I guess they've been around for 6 years. They were working on them for 15 years. There will be a Road to Now episode about that at some point, because I feel like we all need to talk about it. But my friends who don't want the vaccine, they're not ideological people. So they say, I'll wear the mask to protect you, but I don't want the vaccine because I don't want that going in my body.
Yeah, well, good for your friends, at least that they're willing to wear the mask, even if they don't want the vaccine. I'm worried about those who rebuff the mask and have no interest in the vaccine. And your observation about this having been worked on for a long, long time is so well taken. And I hope you do that segment on it, because it was poorly explained. And maybe it was poorly explained because President Trump wanted the perception, I don't know, and maybe he doesn't deserve what is going to sound like a criticism, but maybe he wanted the perception of having been able to deliver a miracle, to bring it full fruition in less than 12 months. And the perception that it was something that was actually in the pipeline for quite some time would have diminished that claim to credit. I don't know, but the way you said it is much closer to the truth.
Well, it just, I was thinking about this. Well, first of all, something I was thinking about this morning, it's like the George, because I know you appreciate Seinfeld, the George Costanza moment. I should have said that. Like
right.
But I should have wrote in the piece that wearing a mask is no different than giving a donation to St. Jude or another charity, because you don't know you give it in good faith, out of the kindness of your heart, out of your own benevolence, and you don't know who it's going to help. You just give it because it's the right thing to do. It's a good thing to do. You feel good about yourself and you feel like you're doing good for someone else that you don't know.
Well, I worry that not enough are going to hear your message. I think that if people could understand that Hallie is in jeopardy, and so are many others who are immunocompromised and can't receive at this stage a vaccination, they're the ones who are going to be most in peril. If people knew that, I would like to think that they could be turned on this issue. I just don't know that that's fully appreciated.
I think what's also important is that we don't try to make people feel bad about it. Like shame, we know in 2021, shame does not work anymore. Like it worked
Right.
for decades. Like look at Andrew Cuomo or Donald Trump, or shame. It just doesn't, it ain't there anymore. So you don't want to shame someone into try to shame someone into wearing a mask, because the wall will go up and the ears will close. But I think, and that was a concern writing this piece. And my wife even raised it, like, is this mean? Is this mean? Like just asking that question with Senator Paul. But I think what I realized, the more I researched him, was like, wait a minute, he doesn't trust government. And if you look at his history, he never has trusted government. And if you think about the way the financial crash a couple years ago, where the banks were bailed out, but the common man wasn't bailed out, or you look at the run up to the war in Iraq, or you look to if you like your plan, you can keep it. Or you look to Donald Trump saying, that's a couple cases coming over here from China. It's the warm weather. Of course people don't, you have to have at least some compassion and grace for those who don't trust government. You and I, we trust. So I'm saying in this piece, one of the things I want to say is, okay, here's a third party. Here's a respectable third party whose mission is to save a child's life. They're not going to do anything that's going to hurt a child. Like they're not going to do it. And Danny Thomas, I tell the history, the hospital was the fulfillment of a promise he made to God and St. Jude. So look at this organization that is science-based. They're looking at the data. They're not just doing it because the CDC says to do it. They're respecting CDC guidance because it's in line with what they themselves have seen in the data.
Well, and what I'm also taking away from this, and I remember the debate about it was the Great Barrington Declaration. And it spurred this thought process that never took hold. But the thought process was, let's try and protect the most vulnerable among us. And at the same time, essentially reach herd immunity. Let people lead their lives. And Bob Crawford is here to say, in part, had we ever pursued that path, it's my daughter that would have been jeopardized. And frankly, there was no way to fully protect her if society was going to go out and live without limitation. I think that's a really valid criticism and critique.
Michael, do you know anyone who's been infected twice with the coronavirus?
I don't.
I
Do
know
you?
2 families, and it was 3 months apart, and they were clearly 2 different, illnesses.
Right.
One, it was worse the second time than the first time. So that also made me think, is there natural herd immunity with this? I don't know. I'm not a scientist. This is a question I would like to see answered. But that goes into the idea of like herd immunity, natural herd immunity. I don't personally, again, I don't know if it exists. I'd like to see that question answered better for my understanding. But it seems like the vaccine, getting back to the vaccine, the durable immunity may in fact only come from the vaccine, but we don't know that.
Hey, sum up before you leave me. What does Bob Crawford most want people to know on this issue?
Wear a damn mask. I mean, just do it for Hallie, because I know there's a lot of people who have donated to like Press On Fund or St. Jude or numerous pediatric cancer charities that don't know Hallie personally or don't know my family personally, but they've done it out of the goodness of their heart. And so think of the mask as a donation. It's like
I think it's
putting a buck in the Salvation Army bin at Christmas time. It's the same thing.
I think it's a great message. If you're tempted to stop wearing the mask, think of Hallie. Think of Hallie.